Call the meeting to order. I invite you to join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Kolpak?
Here.
Pepcorn?
Here.
Strand?
Here.
Turnberg?
Here.
Mahoney?
Here. Tonight, we will continue to recognize and highlight the outstanding work of our city departments do every day to serve the residents of Fargo. Our team is dedicated to ensuring operations run smoothly 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. As part of the commission meeting, we're taking time to spotlight one of our departments and honor their hard work and exceptional customer service. These teams are the pillars of local government, and it is important we recognize the people who make it all happen. We're looking forward to sharing these stories with our community, demonstrating our commitment to going above and beyond to our residents. Tonight, we are highlighting the City of Fargo's Solid Waste Department. The team is responsible for managing all aspects of Fargo's waste collection, disposal, and recycling. Every week, solid waste drivers make their way through the neighborhoods to do the essential work of collecting trash and our recyclables. Our crews pick up waste of 7,000 households per day. All told, they serve 29,000 residential accounts and 1,000 commercial accounts. The Solid Waste Department also does an amazing job of handling our landfill, household hazardous waste facility, and compost sites. Our solid waste employees are constantly working to keep Fargo clean and protect our environment. Their work is vital to keep Fargo beautiful. Now we're going to show a video that underscores the excellent work of the Solid Waste Department.
We provide affordable services for all garbage collection, recycling within our department. We have 7 divisions. Of our 58 staff, the majority of those go out on the residential accounts with over 29,000 separate accounts that's collected weekly. Our last division is our household hazardous waste division, which collects materials from residents and residents in the city and residents of Cass County that we want to keep out of the landfill. So those would be hazardous materials such as sprays, paints, and electronics. The bulk of that material is recycled properly. What can't be recycled is disposed of at a proper location. The landfill brings in 220,000 tons per year. So that's equivalent to about between 600 and 700 tons a day. So there's multiple projects that go on at the landfill each year. Some has to do with cell construction, which a cell is where all the garbage is placed. There are some closure projects that we have to keep up on as well. And a formal closure entails thousands of yards of dirt to be moved, compacted, placed, and tested. So we've been able to perform those projects as well. And within the last year, we've completed 2 of those projects encompassing about 10 total acres, and it saved the city about $700,000. There's a lot of environmental concerns that we follow every year. We're regulated by the EPA as well as the state of North Dakota to be sure that we're being good neighbors to everyone around us. We're keeping water clean, we're keeping our site clean and managed well. We have our Renewable Energies program, which is methane capture. We pull the methane that's generated from the in-place garbage, and it serves 2 purposes. We send the bulk of that to a partner that we have locally who uses that for a fuel heat in their boiler system. And we have an on-site generator that uses the methane to generate electricity, which we put back on the grid. To date, in that program, we have captured and destroyed the equivalent of over 2 million metric tons of CO2. Our part in Cleanup Week, it works hand in hand with our Public Works Department and some other contractors in town that help us haul material. We've set aside a handful of staff who are taken off of their daily duties, and they're just 100% Cleanup Week. And what we do at the landfill with that material that comes in is make sure that of the 300 trucks that we do get in per day on a typical day at the landfill, the added Cleanup Week trucks get to go to a different spot and be able to find an easier time in and out, easier path. So we're managing essentially 2 disposal sites during those 2 weeks. One of the helps that we've had here is in 2021, we opened the residential transfer station.
The transfer station was created, I guess, in 2021 as another option for residents that might have extra household garbage to get rid of, so they don't have to hold on to that mattress or old couch until cleanup week. We really are on a push to keep recycling out of our landfills, specifically scrap metal, cardboard are the two main focuses. But in this facility, we have containers for all of those items I just mentioned. There's no reason to bury that in the landfill. It's not going to go anywhere. We can save that room for municipal solid waste, which is what the landfill is meant for.
I actually am retired, and this is a part-time job for me. I enjoy it. I'm not here for the money. I'm here because I like the people that work here. They're great. I myself, I'll help people unload. I don't have to, but I do most of the time. It's not really like work. It's I enjoy it.
We touch base with the public quite frequently. Our drivers do get used to having their route. You'll see there's some drivers that know families now. There's some children in the city that recognize their driver, and that's always cool to see. And it's good to be able to know that you're helping out a lot of people every single day.
As we spotlight the achievements of our departments, we are instituting the honor of city employees called the Fargo Rising Star Award. So this award honors employees who have been with the city of Fargo for 7 years or less and have consistently gone above and beyond their service in our community. Tonight, we will bestow the Fargo Rising Star Award to a recipient chosen by the Leadership and Solid Waste Department. The award goes to Dustin Halsneed. Dustin has served the Solid Waste Department for 6 years, steadily advancing through the ranks. He started as an operator and eventually took on the role of leachant and landfill gas technician. Now, as a solid waste landfill supervisor, he leads a team of 16 full-time employees and 1 seasonal employee. In his role, Dustin oversees the safe and environmental compliant operation of Fargo landfill, which processes over 220,000 tons of waste a year. He also manages the composting efforts and the city's renewable energies program. Both are critical component of Fargo's sustainability initiatives. Dustin is recognized for his emphasis on professional growth and willingness to take on complex specialized roles. His self-starting attitude and dedication have made a lasting impact on the solid waste department and the city's broader environmental goals. Congratulations, Dustin. You are committed to the service, and your outstanding efforts truly make you a Fargo Rising Star. It's a lot of garbage, holy cow. Is there a motion to approve the order of agenda, moving items 4 and 5 from the consent agenda to regular agenda for further discussion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 31st, 2025 regular meeting?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 24, excluding items 4 and 5?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Strand.
Yes.
Kernberg.
Aye.
Kolpak. Aye. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Regular agenda 25, application for abatement or refund of taxes 4592 for property located at 8522 Avenue North, requesting a reduction of value for 2024. Mike Spilakowski to explain.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. The appeal before you tonight is on a house located at 8522 22nd Avenue North. And the owner cites the reasons for a reduction in value as that it has a single stall garage and then the condition of the house. We were recently out there, and the information that we had for valuation purposes was relatively accurate, but the property did need some work. The stronger argument for a reduction of the value is the information that I have presented in your packets. The assessment fairness measurement that we have in there shows that the property is the highest of all the comparable properties as far as valuation goes. And the sales comparison also shows the same, that it is the highest of all the properties of the similar types of properties. So we did a new sales comparison approach on it, and that is what the recommended value of $308,100 is what we are suggesting that we recommend to the county for the new value of 2024.
Can I have a motion, please?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Colpack.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Turnberg.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. I still have some minutes to go. I think the mayor may take some discussion. John, is it okay if we do recommendations for the appointments to Fargo Dome Authority and Municipal Airport? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, could we split those two, please?
Yes, you can. Got my appointments to the Fargo Dome Authority. Do I have a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Turnberg.
Aye.
Colpack.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Municipal Airport, do I have a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Bishop Kolpak?
Yeah, I just want to share that I've heard from former and current members of the Airport Authority as well as members of the community that the airport at this exciting time of transformation as the remodel continues and we think about what the future will look like in its new state, I think this was an opportunity to bring in new and specific expertise that the airport, as the airport redefines itself. So I will be voting no on the reappointment of this new commissioner.
Mr. Strand, anything to comment on that?
Well, thank you, Mayor. And, I guess I've been there for, 5-6 years or so, and we've been through an awful lot with the experience with the airport journey we've all had. We do have some other candidates that surfaced, and they're great candidates, especially one of them they're both stellar. My sense, though, is that this whole project that we're undertaking right now and up to our ears in the parking ramp, the terminal expansion, we're just really at a critical phase. In my estimation, the role that Commissioner Cosgriff has had has been a financial fiduciary, numbers crunching perspective value that he brings to the table that I think is just critical. I also sense that Commissioner Cosgriff helped us get through to get a parking ramp project going forward. And my sense also is that he understands, at least what I think is our desire, as soon as it's cash flowing, we can pull back from our millage commitment to the airport because it will have enough cash flow. So I'm on board for Commissioner Cosgriff getting another appointment for another year to continue that experience and that depth right now.
Any other discussion? Mr. Pipcorn?
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, I just want to make a comment. Obviously, if we're appointing on merit, I couldn't imagine anyone more qualified and more from the financial expertise than John Cosgriff, plus a former city commissioner. He's got a lot of valuable experience, and he's done a great job, so I will be voting for him, of course.
Mr. Turnberg?
And I believe, too, since the airport does not have a CFO, with Commissioner Cosgriff's experience and expertise with numbers and being so astute about them, that I think it's a valuable resource that we have. So I agree with your motion.
Commissioner Strand and I just went out and did a tour of the garage in the Airport Edition. It's fabulous what they're building out there, so you guys will see it sometime, but it's coming along very nicely. And to me, it was just great satisfaction walking through the garage to recognize that next winter we'll be able to park in the garage and you can take your luggage and you could be in your shorts on the way to the airport. So to me, it's well worth the effort that we finally gotten there. So it's been a long journey. We're pleased to see where we're at. Roll call vote, please.
Strand,
Yes.
Turnberg,
Aye.
Kolpak,
No.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Go to our first public hearing, item 26. It's AA addition to be approval recommended by Planning Commission on 1/7/25, zoning change from agriculture to public and institutional, first reading and rezoning ordinance, and a plat of the AAB addition. Donald Cross, I believe, to explain.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Donald Kress of the Department of Planning and Development. I'll be presenting this item, which includes an ordinance prepared by the City Attorney's Office. The AAB addition is a major subdivision and zone change located way down here on 100th Avenue South. Despite its remoteness from the city of Fargo, the main part of the city of Fargo, it actually is within city limits. Back in, I believe, 2006, there was this strip annexation down here. So it actually is within the city limits for the location. As you can see there, that is a little way away from the main part of the city. Site looks like this. Currently, here's 100th Avenue South. Here's future 45th Street. This is the site here, and the diversion channel is behind here. It's to the south of that. And then here, we're just looking the other direction here, looking easterly at the subject property here. The zoning is agricultural. The proposed zoning is public and institutional. This facility is going to be owned by the Metro Diversion Authority, and that is going to be their office and maintenance facility there. Public and institutional is the appropriate zoning for a property that's owned by a government agency or a government entity. And again, the Planning Department looks at this as a public utility. As stated in your staff report, public and institutional zoning is not for commercial or industrial development or residential development. It's for these types of things, these government-owned properties. The plat here creates just one lot in one block. Here's 100th Avenue and 45th Street. There's a dedication for 45th Street here of 100 feet as required. And the property will take access from 45th Street. The applicant's representative, Chris Bakkegaard, Director of Engineering for the Metro Flood Diversion Authority, is with us tonight, may wish to address the Commission. The Planning Commission's motion for approval is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, Commissioners.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to the zoning change? Is there anyone present wishing to speak? Closed public hearing. It was a 10-0 vote from the Planning Commission to approve this. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Commissioner Strand?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious.
Yes, sir.
If this were not a public institutional entity activity going forward, would we then call it leapfrog development?
Can I defer that one to our Planning Director, sir?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Actually, the diversion offices wanted to put their offices down there to that point, and they wanted to be in the center court of the diversion. So I don't know, Nicole will answer the leapfrog question, but it's a building that they want to have for maintenance and such.
Thank you for that question. Yes, we're classifying this as a basic utility, and that is really the only reason we're supporting it at this time.
So, might I continue?
Yes.
If some private developer wants to go now down there next, do we have any reason not to allow it? Even though then that's leapfrog development?
Well, our growth plan does not support that at this point in time. And we are having some discussions with our planning commission and probably the city commission and sometime in this year, in the coming months, on this particular topic and what thresholds those are. Those are to be required to implement as part of the growth plan that we just adopted.
So that's my question is, this is us, so we can do it, but somebody else can't. And I just don't like those double standards. You know, we really are trying to rein in our expansion out to the edge, growth out to the edge, and manage it and call it smart growth. And I know this is the diversion and it's us. but it just seems to be a double standard. I don't understand that.
Well, and I would just say to that point, any basic utility, whether it's a public-private utility or not. So the basic utility classification has some unique exemptions of our current land development code. So it's not really that it's us, it's more that it's a public utility and they have a little bit more available tools in our current toolbox than any other land developer. So commercial development or single family development or industrial development, that is different than a basic utility need.
Will the LDC change in the future to address this similarly or differently?
Well, again, the basic utility has some special provisions that are, again, allowed federally as well as locally. The land development code rewrite that we're in the process of in effort to implement the growth plan that was adopted, which has very clear guidance on where not development should be. As we put the regulating plan for that growth plan, that will be forthcoming.
We've done it other utilities. Xcel Energy was doing a gas line. We did a utility thing for gas line. So it's typically, yes, utilities do get a pass, John, but it's not leapfrogging. It's going into an area where they're going to service a particular area. This diversion building is servicing the diversion and the inlets, so it has to be close to those areas. So yes, it's further out than we want, but they need to be close to the utility, basically the diversion, and for that they get a pass. Other stuff would not. And in fact, on 100th Avenue, another developer there wants us to do things which we've refused. So Commissioner Strand, go ahead.
Will there be any consequences to anybody else for like special assessments to create this space for them to be there? I mean, are there other assessments and developments and enhancements that others will be required to pay for?
I'm going to pull the
Tom
Donald and
Ecklos will ask
Thomas.
that question, or Chris Bachard could too, I suppose.
There are not any special assessments needed because there are no public improvements needed to support this.
Okay.
Answer all the questions?
Does.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Turnberg,
Aye.
Colpack,
Aye.
Strand,
No.
Mahoney,
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Item 27, application to transfer Class A alcoholic beverage license from BFG Barred Bucks to No Blue in Uptown, Maine, to be located at 2850 Uptown, Maine. It was continued from the 3/3/25 regular meeting. Steve Sprague to explain.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This Class A license is kind of the full-on liquor license that we have. Was at Bar Bucks after Bar Bucks closed. Through your permission, they extended the time of not having sales of alcohol, and they finally found a buyer. And we've gone through the background check with No Blue and live at Uptown, Maine. There were some questions on the police report that regarding the credit scores or credit histories for the people that were involved with this. It was just a matter of a new police officer doing it and not really knowing exactly what the credit score or the credit history was telling them. And so once we got that straightened out, then we were able to bring this forward to you. It did receive a recommendation of approval from the Liquor Control Board. And I don't know if you have any questions on it.
Any questions of Steve? Anyone present wish to speak to this alcohol transfer license? Anyone wishing to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Turnberg,
Aye.
Colpack,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Mahoney,
Aye. Application for ownership change, alcoholic beverage license of 518 properties located at 4609 33 South, and it's continued from a 3/3 regular meeting as well.
And thank you, Mayor. And this property was the one that was at the Africa Club at one time, this license, and the applicant had a couple of other partners involved with it. He's removing those partners. It's all going to the one ownership. And he is also holding this for, it's looking like about another year or so as he develops a concept and then he will bring on new investors with that. So there will come a time in the future where this license will come back to the city commission for approval, where the actual license will start getting used again.
Steve, is there a time frame? I thought a liquor license, you kind of had to use it or lose it. Is there a time frame, 6 months, a year?
Well, on our ordinance, there's a 30-day period of time where the alcohol has to be sold, and if it's not, then they have to come to the city commission and request an exemption from that. That's in section 2515-12 of the Fargo Municipal Code. This applicant has done that, and you have approved. The past practice of the city commission has been to give a 6-month time frame and then come back after 6 months. And this applicant has done that.
And then you regulate that. So when 6 months comes up, you'll bring it back to us unless they've decided where to start?
That's correct.
Okay. Commissioner Pipcorn.
So, Mr. Chair, just a quick comment. We just had a brown bag up talking about some of these issues. And the thing is, what we just approved, the matter right before this, it takes time to find a business buyer sometimes or a concept. And so that's why it's good for us. We monitor, and actually Steve is the one that keeps us apprised. And so, but it does take time, I believe, for businesses to find the potential, and especially the economy is a little bit more difficult, so it takes time. But I do think it's great that we monitor just to see how it's going. I don't know if you have anything to add, Steve.
Well, I think the thing that's important is that we allow the flexibility to the people, the business people that are trying to develop, and keep Fargo current with industry trends and practices. And so we've done the background check again on this owner, and it does come to you with a recommendation of approval from police and through the Liquor Control Board.
Anyone present who wants to speak to this application? Anyone present who wants to speak to it? If not, I'll close public hearing. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Strand?
Thank you. I'm just curious, how many times have we seen this entity before us recently in the last few years? This physical plant with all these different licenses and some same people, different people?
This 518 group?
That entity, that where JT Cigarros was.
It
just seems to come back and come back and come back.
Yeah, the history with the JT Cigarro license, when they first went out of business, that license was purchased by another ownership group, and they moved just south on 45th. Then when, got to think, so then it was the Olive Garden license that was purchased by somebody that he had a concept in mind and never came to fruition. And then he sold it to the people that had Club Africa. And then when that became upset or turned over, then they owed a substantial amount of rent to the person that owned the building. And so that's how they ended up with the license, that ownership group that had the building. And so in satisfying the rent, then they ended up with the liquor license. And so he's been working on a concept since then of, trying to, so that he would use the license down the road.
And remind me, one of the applicants a few years back had some legal incident in Arizona that later on was clarified and wasn't an issue going forward?
I think that was a different group.
Was that a different group?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I will say too that this building has now been sold, and it is going to be a auto dealership, car dealership. So we won't have a restaurant or a bar going back into that building.
Mr. Pipcorn.
So, Mr. Chair, Steve could probably write a book about just this property, and so maybe that will be something that he'll pursue in future interest, because it's been a lot of different things, and we've had a lot of challenges from the law enforcement perspective and liquor license perspective, and so it's probably good news that it's no longer going to be a bar or a restaurant. So that was a good question, John, and I do think, Steve, it could last a lot longer than that answer lasted. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
And so, Steve, actually, they have the license, but no place to go if they've sold the building.
Yes, that's correct. So the address that they've listed here is their office. So they're not using the license, working on a concept where they're going to use it down the road. He thinks he's about a year out from having that concept, be able to come to fruition. I can't imagine, maybe some of you guys have been in positions where you've been a developer or tried to come together with a new idea, but I haven't, and I can't imagine the work that it takes to, pull together different people, different ideas and different concepts. And again, I think that's where the city shows great restraint in allowing these people the time to let these concepts develop.
The question would be, if we couldn't get the concept to go forward, what would we have to do to purchase that license, or just come back to the state or city?
All you would have to do is to deny the continued, when he comes in and asks for an extension on that 25-15-12, if the city commission were to deny it, he hasn't sold alcohol in 30 days, that license would come back to the city.
And Dave, what is a license worth nowadays?
So, Mr. Chair, just to go back to this, but the thing that will happen now, let's say that in a year, they would have to come back through the process again. So it'd have to go through liquor control. They'd also have to have the ownership group and the management have security, a background check by the police. And so it isn't like if they buy the license, they're just good. There's a lot more. The whole process comes back through us again. Isn't that correct, Steve?
That's absolutely correct.
So that's, I think it's.
But if you retain the license, right, then we just sell it on the market?
Well, go ahead.
If the license were to come back to the city would have one additional license to sell.
For 110,000.
This one is 115, the straight A. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Strand.
But if it's worth 115, but don't the owners typically go sell it on the private market and get 300,000 for it or something?
Correct. Yep.
So I guess my question is we have a limited number of these licenses, and now there's a year of nobody else having an opportunity to fill that gap in the business because somebody's sitting on it.
Well, and we're going to see that in 2 weeks when Target comes before you. Target's planning on opening in May of 2027. And that was the reason that we had the brown bag, was exactly that. And so what happens if May of 2027 comes along and let's say the economy gets a little sour or something and Target says, we're going to hold off, maybe we're planning on 2030 or something like that. And the decision that we made, well, we didn't make decisions at that, but the discussion that we had indicated that Target's going to have to come to us and request an extension of time. And if the city commission isn't comfortable with that extension of time, they can deny the extension of time, and then the license would revert to the city. But until then, that Target is going to be sitting on a B limited license.
Commissioner Turnberg.
Steve, why do we allow private entities to sell between each other for double, triple what it's worth when the city could be taking it back and selling it?
That's a great question. We've tried to tackle that a number of times on how the city could, take those licenses back, and we haven't come up with an answer yet.
That seems ridiculous that people are getting rich and we need the money.
Commissioner Pipcorn. Maybe Dave can answer that.
No, so it's a complicated issue, and it is very complicated because we have at a certain time we switched over. Now the city does retain the licenses, but before that time they were owned by individuals, and so we have changed going forward. However, this is a topic that we've kind of veered into something that's a little more complicated than just this. But to me, at a certain point, we have to decide, do we want to buy all those licenses back of the old licenses and convert it all over so they're all the same? So that's a discussion that we need to have. Or do you want to do that over time because it's going to cost a lot of money? And so there's a lot of things that have to be considered. But I don't know if you remember the date, Steve, but we basically now the city does retain the licenses.
Yeah, there was a date. I'm going back and forth in my mind whether it was 2014 or 2018. But after that date, then the city, no licenses are not allowed to be transferred from party to party anymore.
So anyway, Mr. Chair, so it is a complicated issue, and it makes it more complicated because we have two different types of licenses, owned by the city, owned by the individual. And so that is something that we will need to consider at a certain point, because they are assets, and they are value on the free market. They're worth more than we are charging. So that doesn't. It might be that we want to consider raising the price of that too. So, all right, I'm sorry for rambling on, Mr.
No,
Chair.
it's an important subject. Commissioner Kolpak?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Pepcorn, if it's okay, that was my question, is if the Liquor Control Board will be looking at what is going to happen in the future strategically with those.
So, Commissioner Kolpak, so I think we can instruct the Liquor Control Board to say, maybe we should do an assessment of this.
Yeah.
How many are there out there? How much are they worth? How much would it cost us to do this conversion? So that might be, and that's something I think, obviously the Liquor Control Board is an advisory board to us. And so I think that is something that we should consider. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Pepcorn, I would be happy to working with either through you or through Steve to bring it to the next meeting with some formalized thinking about that request.
And I think
Commissioner
too,
Turnberg.
if we're reevaluating everybody's property every 5 years, is it? I think we should absolutely reevaluate the value of these licenses because we are missing out. And so for the people that own them outright privately, do they have different standards that they're held to? Or not?
They take what the
Then
market
what's-
bears, basically. If they own it, then somebody comes up and wants to give you 300 grand, they sell them for 300 grand. So, and that's just, the city has always maintained one price, and it's a good question. We should look into it. But Commissioner Pepcorn, before, when he brought it back to us, it was really expensive. If we had to buy them at 300,000 and then bring them back to the city at 100,000, it's a 200 deficit in a sense. So that is a great thing to have a discussion about, and I think the liquor board should do that. Just bear in mind that the public, if you're in West Fargo or Moorhead, you don't pay that price. So they have their liquor license for $7,000-10,000. So City of Fargo liquor license is pretty lucrative if you have one, because you have a bar, people come. So, Mr. Strand.
Thank you. Help me understand the extension, the continuation of 25, 15, 12. What's that? Help me understand what that means and how long and who. I just don't understand it.
In 25, 15, 12, there are different reasons that you would lose your liquor license, and one of them is the intention of it is that the licenses are continuously used, and so one of them is a time period of 30 days. If there's no alcohol sales in 30 days, then and you don't come to the city and request an extension, then that license would be forfeited. During my time, most people are aware of that. We did have one restaurant that left that wasn't aware of that. It was a chain restaurant, and their license came back to the city. They found out about, I think, like a year later or something, that there was a possibility that they could transfer it to somebody else. Well, by then we had already reclaimed that license, and so they were not able to do that. But most of the time, we actually have realtors that watch when restaurants close and try to act as an arbitrator and try to help facilitate the sale of those licenses. So anyway, there's part of 25, 15, 12 is that you have to continuously use that license, and one of the time periods is 30 days. And so if you're not going to be using it, if you've closed your doors, then those businesses come here and request an extension of that. And what they've been doing is using a period of 6 months. That's been a policy. That part is not in the ordinance. But
I would move that we specify 6 months limit in this motion. If that's what we're being told, that they have 6 months, I would move that we incorporate that into the decision.
into the transfer decision?
Yes, that they have 6 months.
And then if they're not ready to move forward, at that point, they could request another extension?
Well, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
And you want to clarify that, because it's already in the ordinance, is it?
Well,
If the present motion is to give them an extension, isn't that?
But I'm on a time-specific extension of 6 months, not just an arbitrary who knows how long. As I understood it, it's not embedded into ordinance or policy that it's clearly 6 months.
The 6 month thing is
Practice.
It's practice, correct.
So I would like to embed that into our motion, that it's not just practice, but it's expected.
John, could you kindly do an amendment, please?
That's what I'm suggesting, amendment to the motion to limit it to 6 months for this time window. time limit.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? Roll call vote. This is to extend it 6 months.
Limit it to 6 months.
Strand.
Yes.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Turnberg.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Now, ready for the motion? Now we will vote on the motion that is to allow this to go forward,
Transfer the license.
transfer the license.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Turnberg.
Aye.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item 29, hearing to consider a renewal plan and development agreement with Skyline Roars for Tax Increment Finance District 2018-03, continued from 3/8/17 to 3/31 regular meetings. Jim Gomar finally has this worked out, so we're now going to have the final plan.
I want to first call your attention to kind of some background on this project because really it started in 2018. In 2018, the City Commission adopted a renewal plan for this area. And this is my memo from that year. And in 2018, we did not create a TIF district for this, but what we really did was leave open the possibility that a TIF district could be created in the future. And if it was created in the future, that the costs that the developer would undertake for acquisition and demolition would be eligible at that time. It wasn't a legal commitment, but what we were trying to do was this particular string of houses, and actually in two other areas also, they were vacant, they were run down, they were probably all dangerous buildings, and we wanted to get them removed sooner rather than later. And so this was sort of an incentive for the developer to take down these houses. There were 2 on this particular area, and I believe 5 or 6 on some other blocks. And so it just as background to show you why we've been at this particular project a while and why these costs are now eligible. So again, this area, I'm going to go to the other presentation. The area is on 18th Street and 12th Avenue North. This shows you the location of the property. Again, in 2018, we adopted this renewal plan, and what this really is an amendment and update to that plan. This area has all been zoned university mixed use for probably at least a decade. It allows this particular project, it conforms with the zoning. When we adopted our Go 2030 plan some years ago, that was encouraging infill. This future land use plan, you can see from our core neighborhood plan, supports multifamily residential on this particular site and all of that area west of T-lots, and as well as the current growth plan, as you know, is encouraging infill rather than more development on the edge. We originally had this on our agenda, or your agenda, 4 weeks ago. As we looked at that development agreement, both the finance office and the assessors had some concern with how they were going to monitor that tax exemption. Originally, we looked at like 100% for 5 years, and then 75%, and then 50%. With their computer system, it's difficult to monitor that. So we went back to our financial advisor and said, how can we provide the same level of assistance at 100% exemption rather than this step down? And they came up with 11 years exemption in addition to the kind of construction year. So, the good part is this would be over in 11 years rather than 15 years. Many of our TIF districts need to last 15 years to cover all the costs. This one will be limited to 11 years after completion. Adjacent land uses to this, there are apartments to the to the east, apartments to the south, and a row of homes that are all renter occupied on the west side. So this particular redevelopment of rental fits in with those adjoining land uses. As part of the review process, we took this to the Planning Commission. They recommended that this is consistent with their plans. And also we had the Economic Development Committee review this. when we look at when they're looking at it, it's more from a financial review. When you look at the rate of return, it's about 6% without assistance, and in order to gain investors, you generally need to be over 10%. This would be 11% with the incentives. The reasonable rate of return is between 10 and to 15%. They also looked at the coverage ratio. That's what the banks look at, see if you have enough money to pay your loan. They want it to be generally 1.2 or 1.2 times what you need. And this, without the assistance, was not going to meet that requirement. So anyway, we have a public hearing on this. As part of the review process, too, we have to consult with Cass County and the Fargo School District. The Fargo School District has voted to participate in this property tax exemption. The county likes to make decision after you, and they will review the request in a week from today. So the resolution before you will be to approve this plan. These show some photos from back in 2018. You can see these homes were quite deteriorated back then. This particular one, I think, was some of these were been again demolished a couple of years ago, and the developer also, as they became in worse shape, they weren't occupied recently. Inspections was working with them to get them removed. The new development, you can see the site. They did have gone ahead and removed all the homes, again based on that 2018 plan. You can see apartments, to the south and to the east. This is the new development called Skyline. It would be 88 units, main floor parking, 4 levels of housing above it. This is a view looking, I believe, to the west. And so I think this would be an attractive building that'll fit into the campus area and provide some more housing opportunities for students that want to live close to taxes. Again, getting rid of the blight is sort of one of our main concerns, and Commissioner Pepcorn always has this question, how much property tax isn't paid now? So, in 2025, next year's tax bill will be about $2,700, and the city would receive $485 of that. In the future, when this is over after 11 years, property taxes would be probably at least $154,000, with the city receiving $27,000. So there's my recommended motion is to approve that resolution, adopting the renewal plan and the developer agreement with Skyline. Representative of the development group is here if you have any questions for her or for me.
So anyone present who wishes to speak to this renewal plan and TIF? Anybody present who wishes to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Commissioner Pipcorn.
So, Mr. Chair, I have a question for Jim. So the houses that were removed, that was kind of like we've talked about that were close to here where Matrix did that. So did they keep track of the costs of those removals and then they're going to get credit for that? Can you talk about that?
Yes, after the 2018, they were required to keep track of those costs, and we will verify those, prior to the TIF being approved in final form. When we did it in 2018, it was sort of like maybe a commitment that we'll look hard at it in the future. When we did it with the Linksteds, they actually have a contractual agreement. It's limited to a 5-year TIF, but on that one, it's very similar to this, but they have a stronger agreement with the city that we would have to provide that in the future. But again, the goal here, and this and 2 others were approved in 2018, was we don't want the developer to just hang on to blight so that they're qualifying in the future. We'd rather get it down now so our friends at the fire department don't have to go fight a fire in these old buildings.
Good. Any other questions? Mr. Strand?
Thank you. And my initial questions, Jim and I visited earlier, so he helped me understand the 2 demos that took place in several years ago and the 5 that are remaining. But I have this basic question of why do we wait till they're all gone and then come and get permission for a TIF district? Why don't we do that more proactively up front so people know the permission's there, it's granted, it's approved? Because we've lost 7 houses and we're short on housing stock. And I don't understand that dynamic of go clear a block and then come and get permission to clear the block.
I mean, I think the reason we didn't make that commitment in 2018 was we didn't know what they were going to build. They didn't know what they were going to build. And so we really can't do that financial review until we have an exact project with current costs and demolition. So, but they knew after 2018 that the city would at least consider helping them out for, renewal. And I think they sort of had that leap of faith that, well, the city has this policy to encourage redevelopment and provide assistance. And so as a leap of faith, we're going to go ahead and, get these out of the way so we can get started.
Might I continue? So some people, I've been asked by one person, well, we get developers who intentionally sometimes let things go into blight, knowing that this is 6 years later. So we had 6 years of blighted properties, maybe not getting addressed, maybe our neighborhood issue. I just wish the timing was a little different on this.
No, I certainly understand that concern. When we look at when the developer acquired these homes, it was about 2 years before 2018. When they bought them, they probably should have been all torn down, before they acquired them. Actually, one of our planning commissioners said she had lived in that one of those homes about 20 years ago, and it should have been torn down then. So, this developer didn't, buy a perfectly good house and then run it into the ground. They bought a string of houses, tore down the ones that absolutely had to be torn down as the others, deteriorated. Not deliberately, but the foundations only last so long. The roof, they got to the point where it just wasn't worth to fix it up to keep it occupied when you knew in the long term you're going to take it down. So it's sort of a phase down approach on these. Most of these are 100 years old. I think there was one that was built in the 1950s. So you always have kind of one house that was probably in okay shape, but the others were very tiny and very poor condition.
So the policy which they adopted, John, sometimes looks at a 5-year window to do that. That allows the builder or developer to maybe interest rates are better, maybe something else is better during that time frame. But we're less inclined to give something that lasts forever, that you say blight, and we'll give you credit for it. 18 to 25 is kind of a length of time. But sometimes you'll talk to developers and it takes a while to get all the properties they need. Now, if we go by the Linkstead area right now, that's all torn down. Those blocks are clearly cleared and ready for their development. But it's the same thing, is you got to figure out what you're going to put on that site that we approve. So this is a good move forward to get that neighborhood cleaned up. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Turnberg.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item 30, Mike Redinger. I'd like to split this because Commissioner Strand brought this on as a full-time mayor question, and then we had the question of 2 additional commissioners. So for us to move forward on it, would like to at least have it split, have a discussion on full-time mayor, and then when we're done with that, we'll go into discussion about two additional commissioners.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Good evening. At the March 17th meeting, there was a motion that was approved and amended at that meeting, as the mayor just suggested, and was referencing to research the full-time mayor, a transition of that position from part-time to full-time. And then that motion was amended to also add the addition of 2 city commissioners. So city administration, the Human Resources Department, and the city attorney's office all researched the questions that were presented to us. And I will just summarize briefly. I put together a pretty extensive memo in your packet, but to just summarize at a high level, for the full-time mayor, there would be no voter approval that would be required of the city commission. Rather, this would just be a budget matter that you would include funds in your 2026 budget and then have the full-time mayor start after the election of the new mayor in 2026. Alternatively, you could present that question to the voters in a non-binding advisory vote of the voters. So that's really a discretionary question to the city commission. But the costs of the full-time mayor are outlined in the packet. I included that for you. It's a 20-hour position today. It would take it times 2 and become a 40-hour position. As it relates to the addition of city commissioners, this would require a voter approval simply because you need to amend the home rule charter. So to amend the home rule charter, we would start first with a resolution that would be approved by the city commission They would refer that question to the ballot. That ballot likely would be in the June 2026 city election. At that time, if that ballot question, if the voters said, yes, we do want to expand the size of the city commission, we would then need to schedule a special election to create those seats for the new city commissioners, the two new ones. There's a couple of different ways you could do that. There's really no perfect way to do it, but you could simply take the top 2 vote getters, the recipients in that election, and then seat them according to the vote outcome. You could give the top recipient the 4-year term, and then the runner-up, the second place finisher, the 2-year term. Alternatively, it was suggested we could also use a coin toss for the top 2 vote recipients to seat that. That would preserve that stagger. Right now, it's a 3 and a 2 every other election cycle. That would create the stagger of 4 and a 3 with one of those elections, including the mayor's race. So a variety of suggested motions are included within that packet for you. One, starting at the top, is to prepare the ordinance revisions that would be necessary to move the position of mayor from part-time to full-time. Again, the question to the city commission that would need some resolution is whether you would want the non-binding vote to be presented to the electorate in June of 2026. And then the other motions are related to the migration of the city commission to a 6-member city commission after the mayor. So to do that, again, that'd be a resolution to amend the home rule charter. That would also get presented in the ballot of June of 2026. We also have included language there that we would direct the budget team to include budget authority in the proposed 2026 budget for the addition of the commissioners. In this regard, that would likely be prorated for 2026. You would just need a couple of months of salary for the city commissioners. That would be in addition to the existing commissioners for November and December, and then you would absorb those costs for the full year in 2027. And then I also just included that we could just have staff be authorized to do any additional research or tasks as necessary to prepare for the transition of the board from a 5-member board to a 7-member board, and the transition of the mayor from part-time to full-time. So as the mayor suggested, these questions can certainly be separated, but I just wanted to answer any questions I could while I had the microphone. There's no staff recommendation here. This was simply research performed on behalf of the city commission, and so this is purely an act and a discretionary matter of the city commission. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the research that we compiled.
Any questions of Mike? Commissioner Strand?
Thank you, and this is really a lot of conversation for us all to have, especially if we go forward to a public election and engage the electorate to help us decide things. I'm kind of confused a little bit by the 4 motions, but my sense is, Michael, that the third recommended motion would be the one that would be closest to what the memo asked for. Is that correct?
So the amended motion back on March 17 asked for research on a full-time mayor, which is contained in item number 1. And then the amendment was to add the research on 2 city commissioners. So yes, taken together, the motion includes both matters, but as the mayor suggested, you could separate that, just discuss the mayor question first. And then if you would want that to go to an advisory vote at the June election or not. But the home rule charter does need to be amended if we are to add city commissioners. So that needs to be a vote regardless.
Mr. Kolpak?
Yeah, thank you for this work, and for the public, this information is all there. It outlines all the impacts to the budget for both changes. And just a couple of things I'll back up for the transition from part-time to full-time. I can share personally, I really very much believe the mayor is a full-time position. I see it every day. It's more than a full-time position. And with the growth of Fargo, I certainly support it, supporting the work that truly exists for any mayor. I also think acknowledging that and getting to that state of a full-time mayor that's paid as a full-time mayor hopefully would encourage new, younger people to run for office who today it's limiting because of the recognition that it's technically not part-time, but not paid at a level unless you're retired and financially stable, that you are able to run for that position. So I see it as opening the door maybe to new and future younger candidates even. And so I want to share that. But I do support the idea in this environment today of letting the people have an advisory vote in the end, along with if we support adding 2 commissioners, which our community engagement research showed that our community does support. I've heard that a lot in the last 2.5 years, well, even 3.5. As a candidate, I heard that there was support for adding 2 commissioners. But given our current financial uncertainty that's real in our market today, including understanding the impact of what's coming with the 3% cap, which is inevitable from the session and the outcoming legislation, adding the 2 commissioner additions as a possibility if it goes to the vote of the people as well, which it has to. And my understanding is that we're still going to be seeing something that's coming forward from a citizen-led initiative on asking the people about changing our form of government as well. I think all of those things together, for us not to bring this to the people but selectively change this one thing, to me in this environment just seems a little tone deaf. And I don't mean that as criticism, I think it behooves us to include the citizens of the city to help us make that decision, understanding it would still just be an advisory vote that would come back to the commission. And the election's a year and a couple months away, so we're not that far out. So those are my comments.
Commissioner Pipcorn.
So, Mr. Chair, I got a few things. First of all, what problem are we trying to solve? That's my first question. My second question is, are we going to raise taxes, or are you going to reduce spending in the other departments to pay for this? The thing that I learned was, do you know how much Sioux Falls mayor makes? $150,000. So that was eye-opening to me. I had no idea. Lincoln, Nebraska is $100,000 about. Billings is about $100,000. So in my market research, you are severely underpaid, in my opinion. No, that's good to know. Yeah. And so, but I think the whole thing of using an unscientific poll to decide this is not acceptable. And so I do think we should put it to the public and have that vote decide, not be an advisory vote. I think if that's what we want to, what direction we want to go. But I will say, I've been around for 15 years, and I think our form of government is pretty successful. I think a lot of people in North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota look at Fargo as being pretty successful and progressive. And so to make change, just to make change is not always a good idea. And the big thing is, just so the voters realize, if you add new commissioners and a full-time mayor, your taxes are either going to go up or we're going to reduce spending in other departments. There are no other options. There is no magic money tree where wonderful ideas are funded from the magic money tree. We either have to raise taxes or reduce spending in any of the other departments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Turnberg.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree with Commissioner Pepcorn. I will say I've never had anyone reach out to me and tell me that they want more government, they want more people running things, and to expand city government. I think we're all very available. There's email, there's phone. We always encourage people to reach out to us and visit. I agree. I don't think if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I do think we need more time to talk to our constituents, get their feel for it, if that's an advisory vote of what they want. But yeah, there isn't an endless pile of money. So, I mean, 2 more commissioners could be, when you look at benefits and whatnot, I mean, a couple $100,000, and then you add the mayor. So it's a hefty amount of change. Yeah, so I definitely want to hear more from the public about a full-time mayor.
Mr. Strand.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm inclined to lean toward, just for gauging the sentiment of the commission, leaning toward the third motion, but backing up a little bit. One of the things that's built into this proposal is there's no enhanced authority to the mayor. There's no powers, no new duties, no new responsibilities. What this really acknowledges, in my sense, is The mayor's our ambassador. The mayor's that, and this isn't, and I'm going to try to depersonalize this because you're today's mayor, but the next mayor, the previous mayors, they're all, it's the position. Mayors are expected to be at everything. They're invited to every ribbon cutting. They don't have a life sometimes. They're at, and we aren't all at all those things, but they are. So to me, that expectation, and then people go, where's the mayor? Why isn't the mayor there? I expected to see the mayor there. That's a really major commitment to be the face of the community to the public. So in my mind, this is probably overdue to address the time commitment to be the mayor and to do it justice. And especially if somebody has another career that conflicts with it and they have that. So this might make it easier for others to decide to run. I'm very okay, and I'm glad that we can't make a decision right now if we wanted 2 more commissioners or not. That's up to the people. If the people want 2 more commissioners, fine. And it might also be colored by whether or not we've enhanced the position of the mayor. Do we need more commissioners if the mayor's full-time? And then we have the citizens group out there looking at council versus commission, weak mayor versus strong mayor, all that, districts and wards. It gets pretty dicey. So my head says keep it simple. And for the sake of getting it on the table, I would make the 3rd motion to authorize and direct the mayor and city staff to include the budgetary support in the proposed 2026 city budget to implement a full-time mayor following the June 26 election and provide for support for 2 additional commissioners contingent upon approval by the voters in the special election. I advance that motion.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, can I ask a clarifying question? John, so would you be open to a friendly amendment that both, one being an advisory vote, one being a vote of the people at the next scheduled election rather than a future special election? Do you understand what I'm asking?
No, I don't.
So right now, the way this reads is we would schedule a special election, which costs money, instead of bringing it to the next scheduled election.
I hear you.
And then adding that we would add the advisory vote if people want a full-time mayor. Would you be open to those friendly amendments?
You could make those amendments regardless.
I know.
Yeah. And then I'd be curious how others feel.
Well, John, it'll be all right if we split the 2 motions?
I think that's probably prudent, Mayor, anyway.
Because it's confusing in some
It is.
ways.
Yep.
So your action number 3 would be authorized to put it in the budget next year that the mayor is full-time, and it would start June of 26.
And leave it at that. Leave it at that.
Okay. And I'm confused. Was there a second?
No.
For his motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
Can you clarify? Does that mean that we're just making the space in the budget for the salary should we or the people decide to go to a full-time mayor? We've got it built in? Is that what that's saying?
That actually just means that the budget puts it in the budget, but there's no advisory vote. It's just the mayor will now be full-time by the commission's decision.
Oh.
As I understand it, John. Yes. Commission has a right to do that. They can do that. Commissioner Kolpak kind of likes an advisory vote in addition to that, so that would be the question to the commission. Commissioner Strand.
I'm just going to think out loud, okay? We have an election coming next June, a year from June, and we'll have a mayoral seat open. And at that time, we'll have had from April, 2nd Tuesday in April, we'll have 2 months of people campaigning for mayor. But they won't know what they're necessarily campaigning for if they don't know yet that it's going to be a full or part-time position.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
That
is
has to be
they won't
decided
know
prior.
what they're running for because they'll be waiting in June. That could be turned upside down or it might be reinforced. I'd rather have that mayoral discussion, advance in it proactively decided so people know if they're running for mayor, that's what they're running for. And that separates that. That's nothing to do with the commission positions. That's just the mayoral seat.
Commissioner Pipcorn.
Just for the conversation with Commissioner Strand, I think if you're running for mayor, you know what it is. It's the compensation that you're talking about.
Yes.
But everyone knows how much time. What you said previously is exactly true. When people have events, when people come and talk, it's the mayor, not any of us. And so I think everyone knows that. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I do think the whole thing with the compensation, it was eye-opening to me that Sioux Falls is 150. 150, and we're this. To me, that we are very similar cities, and just think that we're at 30. That's like the $20 fine for speeding tickets. It's like, come on
50
now.
or so, I think.
Can we just table this until the next meeting so we have more time to talk to residents? And I don't think we need to rush into it. It is
You could just say move to table.
move to table.
Is there a second?
Second.
Table indefinitely or definitely? To the next meeting or till the future, or?
Next meeting.
That's my only,
I would, can we do it next month?
absolutely.
30 days.
30
Give you
days
some time to get
at-
some input.
from that.
That sounds fine. That was seconded by
Denise, sorry, Kolpak.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Turnberg,
Aye.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Now we go to the second question, which is there a motion, or in fact, John, you have a motion, I just need to get a second. There's a motion to put to the voters whether we should have 2 more commissioners, and Commissioner Kolpak, you seconded that?
No, I would
Actually,
like,
that's been withdrawn. That
Oh,
initial
okay.
has been truncated
So we want to
down.
restart, okay.
and Mr. Chair, if I may, I would include that with the table motion for consideration as well. So I move to table.
Oh, okay, move to table. Is there a second?
Second.
So go out and get some discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Turnberg,
Aye.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item 32, applications for property tax exemptions and improvements made to buildings. Wow, we got a huge list here. Look how many people are rebuilding. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Kolpak,
Aye. Sorry.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Turnberg,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Liaison Commissioner assignment updates. Commissioner Pipcorn,
No update, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Turnberg.
Library is doing great things, a lot of activities to check out. So you should go online and see all of the activities that they have planned. And other than that, no update.
So Commissioner Strand and I went out to the airport, looked at it today. The garage is coming along marvelously. It looks wonderful. The addition is marvelous. Just would ask the public to really strongly support them. They're trying to get $60 million from the state, and we would strongly support that. That helps to finish off the addition. And the addition is gorgeous. John and I looked at it. They got timber in there, which is just really makes it stand out as a different experience, I think, for people. And baggage will be done better, and the experience will be better. So we're really excited to see your baggage might arrive by the time you get off the plane and walk over there, which will be fun to see. Mr. Kolpak.
Yep, I have 2 department updates and 1 personal update. So beginning first with the Fargo Youth Initiative, had our meeting last Sunday. We had a great turnout. The members of the Fargo Youth Initiative are very excited about their work. And we now are meeting at Atomic Coffee in their room, but some of their focus areas are enhancing Fargo CAS public health outreach to students and supporting youth involvement in recent tobacco and suicide prevention summits, advancing local efforts to address youth homelessness, contributing to Fargo's land development code update, emphasizing youth-friendly spaces, transit and urban design, and exploring map bus safety and operations as well. And I provided a legislative update. And their next meeting is May 4th.
Isn't vaping as bad as smoking? Is that, I mean, do the kids have, isn't vaping a bigger issue in
There's a
school?
lot of data. I know our public health director is here, but yes, there's a lot of information out there about how harmful it is. And then water utility, at our last utility meeting, I threatened Director Hall that I would be sharing this, but it was really an interesting conversation around the input they receive and the amount of customer service they provide with residents who call with concerns and issues about water. And so I thought it was interesting to share some of the common questions but one thing I want to add in that meeting, in that discussion, is how the staff at the water treatment plant, are committed to resolving issues with constituents, whether they live in Fargo or not, frankly. Some of them call from the region with questions, and how much time they spend and how proud they are to solve problems and reassure people that our drinking water is safe and the best in the region. So some of the concerns shared: pink or orange staining. It's caused by a common form of bacteria. Cloudy water is from dissolved oxygen in the faucet aerator. Foul-smelling water caused by faulty plumbing seals or from sewer gas traveling through the drains. Rusty sidewalks after watering lawns caused by the iron and fertilizers, and blue water caused by this was a specific example of why was the water blue in a location, a commercial location, caused by a chemical reaction between corroding copper pipes and CO2 leaking from soda dispensers. So some pretty interesting lessons learned and insights for residents about their drinking water. And then the last thing, I'm embarrassed to say, at our last commission meeting, of all commissioners not to wish an upcoming birthday was John Strand, who remembers everyone's birthday. His birthday was April 6th. So happy belated birthday, Commissioner. Sorry about that.
Thank you. At my age, I have a good excuse for forgetting.
John, do you have anything?
I don't. I was going to mention the airport tour today and just what a legacy generational project that is for our community. It's so exciting. And to see people's response to the parking garage, especially with winter coming, but that's just really terrific to see that happening in our community.
So we're going to go to item 4, second reading. And the first part is, remember, we have to read the whole thing, or we can kind of waive the first part. And so the first motion is to waive the reading, then we'll actually discuss the ordinance. So I move to waive the reading and the length of the ordinance enacting section 10-037 or 327 of Article 10-03, Chapter 10, and I further move to waive the reading at length of the ordinance amending the sections. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And that just to understand it, we're not even endorsing the ordinance, we're just not going to read it the whole totality. So roll call vote.
Colpack.
Aye.
Strand.
Yes.
Pepcorn. Aye. Turnberg.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. So the motion is actually, I move to approve the ordinance enacting sections 10-0327 of Article 10-03, Chapter 10, and 1. I move to approve the amendments of the section as well. Chief Zabowski to explain the motions to you, and then Commissioner Kolpak can explain why she pulled it. So,
good evening, Commissioners. In a nutshell, this ordinance change takes ordinances that were in existence, consumption and possession of alcohol in public places and public urination, and changes the penalty from a non-criminal fine to an infraction, which the purpose of that, in working with our downtown community partners in response to community concerns, provides our officers with an option with an infraction to make an arrest if need be at their discretion. And then the fine is up to $1,000, which of course would not be a first offense, or that would be up to the judge. But that was the big impetus to changing that ordinance category. I'm happy to take any questions on that.
Commissioner Kolpak.
Yeah, I'll share the reason I pulled this is because we continue to have a lot of obviously attention about concerns downtown and what activities and what actions we're taking, both staff and commission, to address them, knowing that it's spring, soon to be summer, and I have had 4 different meetings with businesses who have reached out directly to me with some questions that I've met with. I shared that this action was taken March 31st on the first reading. 3 of them were not aware of it, and so I think the more we can get in front of the community and talk about the priority of what we're seeing, both in homelessness, but also downtown, and what we're doing to address it, because it's an everyday priority by staff and certainly by many of us, both policy-wise and just logistically what we're doing and preparing for. So that's the reason I pulled it. I wanted more awareness, and I wanted for sure downtown businesses, but the community to know that there is a lot of action and work still coming that's being done. So I appreciate that, Chief. Thanks for the update.
Discussion? Bishop Pipcorn?
So just to add a couple of things on that. So on April 30th, the resolutions expire. And so what I'd like to have is the ordinance about camping. We'll have that up so people can see that, because that will go into effect April 30th, I believe. So that's going to be good. I would encourage people to drive around town when it's dark out in the downtown. And if you look at all the apartments, they're empty. Their lights are off, all the condos, people have left the downtown. The businesses have left. The customers are afraid to come downtown. So these are good things, but that's not even close. We need to do a lot more and take this a lot more seriously because it's having a huge damaging effect on the tax valuations of our buildings, of our economy. And so, and obviously the downtown engagement center, that's got to go. And we can't have anything there downtown. The needle exchange, that's got to go. We got to quit enabling. And we are going to quit enabling. That's what's coming. And so that will change the downtown permanently because what's going on now is a disaster. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I forgot one thing as well. There's going to be a meeting April 23rd between staff, police, others, and the downtown community partnership that's going to be very instructive about the changes that are coming, working with the police department and others and staff, and the role that downtown businesses can play to that end for solutions as well. So I meant to mention that in my first remarks. Thank you.
Mr. Strand.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, when this topic surfaced a few weeks back, I voted against it. And people were saying, well, you're not supporting downtown by voting against this because downtown wants this. I'll explain why I voted against it, because we went from a Tuesday to a Thursday. Some people met on Tuesday and came up with this proposal, these ordinances. By Thursday, it was on our agenda. And what bothered me is that key players in our overall discussions weren't even brought to the table, weren't asked, weren't talked to, you know, so, and one of the questions, concerns, gets to exactly Commissioner Pepcorn's concerns. People say, well, we just don't want unintended consequences where this seems to put an onus on the marginalized at-risk people at downtown, the ones that struggle the most. And now tonight it's suggested that that's why our downtown's emptying. And that's why there's empty apartments, and that's why there's empty buildings. We're connecting these dots in ways that are, I'm not so sure the science and data is there, you know, frankly. So that's my concern. Public health wasn't involved in this discussion. Our state's attorney's office, prosecuting for the state, weren't even involved in this discussion when we're advancing these proposals. I just wish we would have brought more people to the table and engaged more folks and heard the concerns from people that advocate for struggling people and heard them up front rather than after the fact. And I still don't know, Chief, you can maybe tell me, how assured can we be this won't end up being a focal point on those folks who are unhoused or who are struggling in downtown, part of the engagement center? Will this enhance their focus on them, or will it not? Or how can they not be seen more with this ordinance in place, more critically?
Sure. Well, our officers will utilize their discretion as they always do in dealing with these situations. I think we have a very good track record of working with public health, who was involved in these discussions, and the city prosecutor who would hear these cases, not the state prosecutor, was involved. So all parties had this discussion, and it was, in terms of its use, we have situations in which we can't take action such as an arrest to remove someone whose behavior is unlawful and they're refusing to comply because of the changes that were made some years back, making this a non-criminal. So making it an infraction gives us that ability and utilizing our discretion appropriately to make sure that we're doing everything that we do now. But in situations where we need to make an arrest, we have to be able to do that because as much as we work with public health and the folks experiencing homelessness and others, it's not just those folks that are potentially walking around consuming with open intoxicants and public urination and those types of things, but other people whose behavior needs to be regulated. But we also have to make sure that we are creating a safe environment for everyone else as well, who sometimes are. These are issues that affect that perspective as well. So we're trying to navigate through that. I trust our officers will use appropriate discretion in these situations, and this is just another tool, if you will, that we'll be able to utilize.
I take a little offense to downtown. I was downtown on Saturday night. It was a busy time. The square was busy. Silver Lining was having lines outside the door. Commissioner Pepcorn, people are enjoying downtown. I would argue some of the vacancy rates are too many apartments came on too soon, too much. They're doing condominiums. The pricing is up there that a lot of people cannot afford $1 million condominium. So it'll take some time for that market to come, and the market's soft right now. If you talk to Rocky Schneider, he knows downtown is busy, things are happening, but the economy's a little wavy right now because people are a little reluctant to spend money. They're a little concerned about what's going on. So I think everybody is making a commitment, and to your point, we have public health, we have the chief, we have Jan, we have business partners, we have everybody totally committed downtown right now to enhance our downtown and to make sure these things are addressed. And it doesn't just go away, it has to be addressed in a thoughtful fashion. So we have a lot of smart people working on this, and Brenda's been working on it night and day. Some nights she loses sleep, I know, trying to figure out what the best solution is, but it's trying to figure out those things. We've got the state involved. The state might give us some money. We've got private businesses wanting to give us money to help figure this out. So it's not all the city of Fargo. So I protest. We all have to work together to get this thing solved. And it's not going to get solved by just wishing it goes away. It's going to have to be hard work and hard. And to your point, John, is the businesses have to step up and help us out as well. You know, if they're having a problem, call the chief or call the police and have them look into that. But now they've got one policeman that actually lives downtown, and that's the chief. So if you want to call him, he's downtown. He can come over and take care of it middle of the night, right? 3 in the morning, something like that.
Absolutely, yes,
Yeah.
sure.
So I mean, that has all changed. So let's continue to work on this because there's no question, Commissioner Pepcorn, we have spent a lot of money downtown, and we should not have that jewel go away. We need to support it. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Excuse me, what's the mayor, is the motion on both or just one of these?
Just the first one. Section 5 will be read next.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Strand.
No.
Turnberg.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Same thing for number 5, second reading, waive reading, and final adoption of the ordinance. If I could have a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Kolpak.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Strand.
No.
Turnberg.
Aye.
Mahoney.
John, this is just for waive the reading.
It's all right.
Okay.
Just being consistent.
I thought you voted for it the first time. Sorry, I missed that. Okay, now we actually have the motion on the second reading, amending the municipal code relating to restrictions on sale, service, or dispensing alcoholic beverages, and section -123 sale relating to ordinance variance.
Mayor.
Do I have a motion?
Mayor, we already waived the reading the first time around, and the motion number 2 covered both 4 and 5, so we're good to go.
I think we're good.
So we're right to the motion?
We're already
We're
done.
done.
We're done.
Yeah, they were combined.
So you are consistent.
Yeah, I'm trying to be.
Okay. We're up to resident comments. And again, resident comment, you have to give your address or your email address. That was not given. We have no speakers tonight. We are adjourned.